You're live.
Thank you. Okay, so the select board has now returned to open session at 7:23 on June 28th. Okay, we got a pretty short agenda tonight for once. So we're going to start with the consent agenda. We've got A through K. So I'm just going to read the letters and ask who wants to hold any one of these. A is the St. Mark's donations. B is a donation from, and I never say this right, Lee Abry.
Agree.
Okay, so you're not saying hold, you're telling me how to pronounce it. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Agree.
Okay, thank you. Library, $25. The next one is increasing the rec revolving fund for fiscal year 22 by
Hold.
$2,000. That's Chelsea, hold.
Nope, that's Lisa. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay.
Yep.
I figured Chelsea would hold that one. Review of open session meetings, June 14th.
Hold.
Approve the amendment to St. Mark's Park Working Group charge. We need to add the term expiration, which Mr. Haggerty pointed out to us. So I'm going to hold so we can get it added. Okay, next one is appointment to the St.
Sorry, we're doing it to expire to 6/30/22.
Well, we're going to discuss it. I would say we should go to 6/20/23. If not, we're going to have to do it again.
Right.
On
Right.
Thursday.
So I see no reason we can't go ahead and just, we think it's going to be done, right? This is one and done, hopefully. So go ahead and extend it to 6/30/23. So you're looking skeptical, Chelsea.
No, I think we should do it. That's why I asked, because I think it should be through 23. And is everybody else in the working group extended through 23?
Well, this is a whole, we basically amended the charge, right? And there's nothing in this amended charge about any expiration dates.
This is a separate question from the goal, the date by which to deliver a recommendation, right? This is just an administrative thing so that
Oh, it
we
is.
don't have to do
Yes.
this 6 months from now if something happens.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm fine with
Okay.
6:30.
So we probably need to hold that one to amend it to be 23.
Yes, I held it. So
Okay.
no, Jim, to be clear, Jim says there is no committee ad hoc, otherwise it doesn't have a expiration date. Okay. All right, so we're gonna hold that one. Next one is the appointment to the St. Mark's Working Group of Freddie Gillespie from Open Space and Kevin Miller from Historical. Okay, appoint, and then the next one is appoint Grant Farrington to the Historical Commission. Next one is to approve our own Andrew Dennington to Shopsy. Next one is to approve the schedule for early voting for the primary only, not the general election, the primary only that's on September 6th. Okay, and the last one is to approve the MWRA 8M permit for public access to trails, which is what Catherine McKee is after this. No one's holding that one? Okay, good. So we're done. She'll be happy. Okay, so we've held D, E, and F. Everybody agree? Okay, so motion to approve A, B, C, G, H, I, J, and K.
So move.
Second?
Is there a K? Sorry.
Yes, there's a K. It got added, Lisa.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Chelsea.
K is the MWRA permit.
okay. Sorry. You're right.
All right, everybody
Yeah.
okay? So the motion is
Yep.
to approve everything that wasn't held. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. We're on Zoom. Chelsea,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
And Cook is aye. So 5-0 to approve the non-held consent agendas. Okay, back to D. So Lisa, you held D.
Yeah, so Kathy, either if you or Chelsea, just to make the public aware of why the board is increasing the spending limit that town meeting voted. I think that would be useful for anybody tuning in.
Chelsea.
Yep.
Or I will. Go ahead.
So, town meeting, this is part of one of the town meeting articles every year for the revolving accounts. And for FY22, it was listed at $400,000. And if you remember, we increased this amount for FY '23 to be $500,000 because rec has increased their programming. They increased the rates that they pay their counselors. So there was, we knew that they were bumping up against the expenses on the revolving account for FY '22. And with some days in June needing to be paid, even though it's getting paid in July, it has to hit the June books. So Recreation requested that we approve them going over on that account for FY '22. And the process through that is that advisory has to vote it, as well as select board, to authorize them to go over the spending limit for that year. So this hopefully will not happen next year unless they increase programming more than what we thought they were going to do, but we did try to take that into account per Mr. Davis's recommendation.
Well, it's not a bad problem to have it. That's why they do it. So yeah, this is state law that says to do this, so everything should be fine. So Lisa, is that good enough?
It is. I just thought the public should be aware, Kathy, in case someone questioned why a town meeting vote was, how it could be done. So I appreciate it. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, any other question on this one? All right, so motion to approve the increase in the rec revolving fund to $410,000 for fiscal year '22.
So move.
Second?
And
Someone second?
second.
All right, roll call vote. Chelsea?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Lisa?
Okay, thank you.
Cook is aye, 5-0. Okay, next one is the review. I'm going to come back to the minutes. They were long. Okay, let's do the approval of the amendment to the St. Mark's Park Working Group charge. So I've got it in front of me. It's one page. So does everybody agree we want to basically add to it that the charge will end on 6/30/22? Excuse me, 6/30/23. Yes, sorry, Vanessa. 6/30/23. Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So motion is to add to the charge an expiration date of 6/30/23 for all members.
So move.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Chelsea?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Cook is aye, 5-0 to approve that. So that
Hey,
one.
Kathy,
Yes, sir.
for Andrew's benefit, we should have extended that to 6/30/30.
There you go.
Oh.
B40. So that would make Mr. Haggerty happy. We are back in compliance here. Okay, so now the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to read the 6:14 minutes?
Like War and Peace.
Really? By the way, I met Bridget at Starbucks. I went in the other day and I said 5 words. She goes, "Are you Kathy Cook?" And I said, "Yes." She goes, "I'm Bridget." So I said, "Hello." So we meet each other. So it's a very nice conversation, but I recognize you from the voice.
You should have bought her a big cup of coffee. She needs it to stay awake for all this stuff.
Okay. I've got more edits in this than you guys normally have. Does anyone have a significant amount of edits here? This
I
is
just have little spelling stuff.
I got 6 small things.
okay. Why don't we start with the small things and maybe you'll knock out most of mine. So Sam, you want to start?
Okay, line 14, I think it should be Mr. Hong. There's
It
a-
is. It is H-O-N-G.
Name there. Then on to line 372. 372 to 374, talking about the survey project. I think there's some lack of clarity there. In 372, I would say update on the timing of the archaeological survey project. I'd add archaeological survey in there. I think that's what we were talking about. And then in line 373, I would say the survey project. And then 374, I'd say halt any construction work until the survey is done. I guess that's my recollection of what that would clarify that.
Well, Sam, on line 372, that would have just tracked what the agenda said. I'm pretty confident that just is a copy and paste from. So I think that's why that says what it.
But the timing of the project seemed to me to be unclear whether we were talking about the entire construction project, which I didn't think was the case, or the archaeological survey project.
Okay, so I agree with Andrew. That's exactly what the agenda said. So the agenda probably should be more clear. So just add it, Sam, instead of there, go to 373 and add it
Yeah.
when you say status of the archaeological,
Archaeological survey
right?
project.
So then you get it in there.
That works.
Okay. All right.
And then 374, I added halt any construction work. Line 410, tiny one, open space instead of spaces. And line 434, I think there were 3 memos there. And so I would say Ms. Malinowski stated that the memos from Mr. Sabelli, Chief Achilles, and Ms. Galligan address the following budget adjustments, because we're talking about 3 separate things there. So there was more than the one from Paul Sabelli. That's it for me.
All right. Andrew?
Yes. At line 84, my name is spelled wrong.
Oh, no.
And on line 94, the word Cordoville is spelled wrong.
So tell her how to spell it, though. Just go ahead and.
Okay. My last name is Dennington. And Cordoville on 94 is Cordaville.
Okay, that's
That's
it.
it.
Okay, Lisa?
You're embarrassing me, Andrew. I must have dozed off for those. I should have caught those.
I had the same as Andrew, so I'm all set, Kathy.
All right. Chelsea?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so I've got a couple. So I stayed up all night for this meeting, so I want to be called attending. So at the top, I wanted to say Kathy Cook was there too. She does, and I want to get rid of that line that says I showed up at 6:04. When I was on the Public Safety Building Committee, I tried to be so on time, but if I was 5 seconds late, those men would say Kathy Cook was 10 seconds late. So anyway, so I just wanted to put at the top that I was there too. You can say attend remotely and get rid of that line on 19 that I joined at 6:04. Okay. All right. More importantly, yeah, I hate to do this. This is such hard work. Okay, so line 25, Miss Alcock will attend. She just needs to put a space between Alcock and Will. On 37, where she says DPW use of funds, what I think sounds better, say DPW use of funds and prioritization of projects. So get rid of allocation priorities and just say prioritization of projects. Okay, 119, another, so presidential, Fisher is Fisher, as far as I know, Fisher Road, right?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
And going back to the days where we were taking math, et cetera, I guess this is right. You know, when the guys from Hopkinton were talking about, you know, remember when Andrew Pfaff came on and started talking about how low his water pressure is over on Oak Hill? And he said this is going to increase it by 10. Did he say 10 PSI? Does everybody remember? Is that what he said?
Yes.
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 All right. Then on line 145, P, so she's got PWBP, she's got the letters reversed, so
Yeah.
PWPB instead of BP.
Yeah.
All right, and then on line 168, I believe that's Middle Road, not Middleborough Road. Agree, Lisa?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
and those other roads, and that's it for me.
Again, a big shout out, Kathy, if we can, to Bridget for, I think this was probably one of the lengthier sets of minutes she's done, and she's done some long ones. So kudos to her for these minor edits, considering all she had to do.
Oh, I totally agree. My gosh, really brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, so motion to approve minutes as amended.
So move.
Second,
Second.
okay, roll call vote. Chelsea,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
And Cook is aye, 5-0. All right, on to the more substantive stuff. Okay, so now we're ready to go back and look at
Kathy?
Vanessa. Sorry.
Just before we move on, just want to make sure that on consent agenda F, did we appoint Freddie and Kevin? I think we because we only held the,
That's right. So Freddie and Kevin are now appointed to your working group. You're appointed to
Okay, thank
Chopsy, and Kevin Farrington is appointed to Historic. Okay,
You mean Grant, right?
Grant Harrington.
excuse me, Grant. Yeah, sorry.
Just checking.
Yep, I'm getting my Kevin's mixed up. Yes, Grant. So that's all done. Okay, now let's go on and talk about the police chief job description that Vanessa has drafted for us. Okay, everybody have a chance to look at that one?
So this is the existing job description that's been in place for the last number of years. Mark and I just wanted the board to review it in public session and determine if you had any revisions to that.
I've got a few. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, so Chelsea, you want to start?
Sure. Under the special requirements, is there a some sort of training or certificate that is related to accreditation?
I'm not sure if there's an official certificate, but I could verify that with the Mass Chiefs Association.
Okay, I just want to make sure if there's something that should be added for that, that we include it in there. That was it for me, Catherine.
So Vanessa, if there is, you'll just add it.
Yes, and if I could present this at your next meeting as a final version, if you prefer, with any other amendments that might be decided tonight.
Okay.
So give you a clean copy to approve it at your next meeting, so everyone's in agreement.
Okay, Sam.
Generally fine with it. Tiny point, need to update the Board of Selectmen to Select Board through here.
Yes.
And that's it for me.
Andrew,
no comments.
Lisa,
Just one, I'm wondering whether we should include some language in here regarding the new police reform legislation that took place.
You mean post?
Yeah, I think we
Okay.
should incorporate something to make sure we're meeting the requirements, and it is part of his duties to make sure that takes place. So however, Vanessa, you want to word it, but I
Yeah.
just think there needs to be something in here referencing, that happened since this job
Agreed.
description was done. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Kathy, one more thing I forgot. The department size description, 17 sworn officers, is that still accurate? What if it's not, we ought to update it, so.
I counted from that org chart today. That's actually why I got the org chart in part. And I couldn't get 17, but it was close.
Not critical, but it ought to be whatever we think it is there. So.
I can verify that with payroll in the morning.
Now, are we still looking, actively looking to fill a position within the department?
Yes.
So we need to make sure that gets included in the count as well.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, guys. I actually have, I guess, a few comments here. So I won't say quite a few, but it probably is. So let me do easy things first. Vanessa, there's a couple of just grammar stuff. So on the first page second page under essential functions, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th paragraph down, the verb should be assigns, plural, instead of assign. We're talking one person, so it's singular. Next one down, promulgates responsibility as required instead of is required. If anybody disagrees, say so. Okay, now this one is more substantive. So on the next page, second paragraph, right above special requirements, where we talk about, it's the very last sentence, in a command capacity and be a person of good financial condition. I don't know what that means. I'd rather be a person of good character, which to me includes being financially responsible, et cetera. I just think that sounds a little awkward, but I'm not beholden to changing this if you guys don't agree.
Kathy, I wondered about that when I read it as well. I don't know why that was, Vanessa, do you know why that was added in
I don't,
2013?
Again, this hasn't been looked at for quite a few years, so I could grab a couple of police chief job descriptions from our most comparable communities and see how that's worded. Or you might consider going with the post language which is be a person of good moral character, I think is how it's worded.
That's what I like better, because I just don't know what it means. It's subjective, what good financial
Well,
condition is.
I don't know, Kathy. I mean, when I hire somebody, particularly somebody, to deal with money, I'm looking for a solid financial condition, like is not filed for bankruptcy 3 times in a row kind of thing, and is again scrambling for money everywhere. It's hard to tell sometimes, but clearly in this kind of position, you don't want somebody who again is under that kind of external pressure. So I'm fine with the good moral character or good character or something like that to include all of that kind of stuff. But I think that we ought to include in a background check, which is a normal kind of background check, is to look for financial lawsuits, bankruptcy actions, garnishments, all those kind of things.
I don't disagree with that, Sam. I just think it's such a subjective thing. What you may think's good, I may not think's
Right.
good. So I just thought it just sounds awkward to me. And to me, good moral character to me picks up,
I'm fine with that as long as we're checking for a broad range of things in this process.
It will be part of the extensive background check, for someone at this level, a credit check is often included as well in that process.
Okay, everybody okay with that?
Yeah, just I interpreted the same way Sam did, but I think it's the consensus that we've emerged at is fine for me to I think what you're saying is to have a good moral character, and then Vanessa's advising us that's going to include a credit check, etc.
Okay, this one's easy. So under special requirements, certified police officer, I just think the R is missing on the end of office. Based on my copy. We're going to add the accreditation, so that's good. Now, this is where, we don't have to do this, but if you read under knowledge, ability, and skill, it's quite redundant as far as some of the things listed under ability. And then we've got ability. If you look under knowledge, you've got one ability above there instead of under the ability section. So I think this could be done a little bit better, but I'm not going to get too excited about it. I just think we kept talking about supervising over and over. We talked about it in I think 3 different ones. Said it a little bit differently, but we still kept saying it. So I just think that we repeated ourselves quite a bit there. I don't think we need as much there as we did, but if you guys are fine with it, which it sounds like you are, let's leave it alone.
I agree, it's not well written particularly, but it's good enough, I think, to keep moving with it.
All right, so we insist on it because we said it 3 times. Okay.
I would offer that if the board in your next item, chooses to hire a consultant to help us facilitate the rest of the process, that's one of the first things we would share with that person is, here's what we just discussed at the board's meeting, and see if they have any suggestions on edits to the job description.
Okay, all right, so that's it.
Just in terms of skills, we may want to add something related to financial budget.
Well,
skills.
Chelsea, we got the budget, so that's there. I actually wanted to see the budget as a separate bullet under ability. So if you look at,
Okay.
So it's there.
Covered somewhere.
Yeah, it's there.
But in terms of the software, I just didn't see it listed. I know we don't have a budgeting software right now, but hopefully we will. I think we just need to make sure that.
So under the very first one, after knowledge of criminal law, it says ability to plan, design, and review the work of subordinates. And then it says budget. So I really think the budget should have been. So how about this? Put the budget one in a separate bullet under there, because it really shouldn't be combined with supervising someone. It really is important that we, the chief is aware of his budget, follows his budget, works hard to prepare it, et cetera.
It's listed under essential functions, right?
It's listed under knowledge where I read.
I know, again, I don't know if this matters, but it's already listed under essential functions. Prepares, presents, and manages the department budget.
Yeah.
Prepares and submits reports of police department operations to the Board of Selectmen, etc.
So there is redundancy here.
I think it's fine to break it out, Kathy. I think it makes more sense. I agree that you're tying a bunch of different skills that have nothing to do with one another essentially together.
So Vanessa, is that okay?
Yes.
Just make it a
Yeah.
separate sentence, right?
Sure.
All right, everybody happy? Okay, so a motion to approve the chief of police job description as amended tonight.
So move.
So do we want to wait until we do the next item to see if we're gonna have a consultant to weigh in on this before we vote it? I mean, I'm fine with the changes. I just, or do we want to do it twice?
Do you want to see a clean copy at your next meeting and vote a final version then? Or if you're
wanna keep
comfortable with
moving.
your discussion tonight, I'll take all of that and amend it.
I want to keep moving, I guess.
Okay.
So,
I do too, because we don't meet again. The planning means the 7th. We don't do it on the 7th. We do it on the 12th. So,
Yeah.
tonight, so it's another 2 weeks.
I would also prefer to keep moving.
Okay.
I guess, how is this holding us up?
It's not.
If we're gonna have a consultant look at it again, I mean, I'm fine with voting it and then re-voting it. I just,
So why don't we vote it as amended tonight, Chelsea? So we got, we've cleaned it up a little bit, right? And then if the consultant comes in and says, oh, you really got to do this, isn't it? We'll do it.
Yep.
How about
Okay.
that? Okay.
Sure.
All right. Everybody agree?
Yep.
Okay, so
I moved to approve as amended.
did we have a second? So Chelsea seconded. Okay, so roll call vote, Chelsea,
aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
And 9-5, so 5-0 to approve the amended chief of police job description. All right, okay, now moving on to next steps in the process to find a new police chief. So did everyone see the memo that Vanessa sent today? So this is our starting point that we're going to discuss this and look at that and decide how we want to change this, go forward, et cetera. So if you look at the first page, I think her 1 and 2 are mutually exclusive. So you're either going to do 1 or you're going to do 2. You're not doing both, right? Anybody disagree with that statement?
No.
Nope.
All right, so let's discuss 1 or 2. So Chelsea, what do you think?
2.
Okay, Sam, agree? Okay, Andrew?
2.
Okay, Lisa?
2.
Okay, 5-0 too. So by the way, I call on everybody in Zoom. I don't know what you other guys do, but the way I see people on the Zoom, so that's the order I'm going in. So Lisa, I'm not trying to pick on you and do last, but you just happen to be bottom right of the screen.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay, all right, so that was easy. Okay, so Vanessa, you want to update us on where you stand as far as the consultant, finding a consultant?
Sure. So, Mark and I estimated that this would be well below, the procurement requirement where we would have to do an RFP and so forth. So, it doesn't require that process. So I went out and contacted, 3 different municipal consultants that we've used in the past for a variety of reasons. They kind of gave me some ballpark estimates when I explained, it's an internal process. It's not doing a full-fledged, RFP or multi-day assessment center, but we want some assistance from a neutral party, not someone on staff here to help us vet, whatever internal candidates we have. So most of them suggested, obviously, an oral interview with, a number of experts from the municipal field. They also could incorporate perhaps some written exercises to look at people's, understanding of all the administrative procedures, that a police chief would be involved in. In addition to that, they might include some sort of, role-playing exercises or, at a minimum, situational questions and real scenario questions that are going to get at, what someone's breadth of experience is, not yes or no questions, not, short answer questions. So, depending on the number of exercises that might be included, that's what might drive the costs up a little closer, to 6,000 versus maybe 4,000.
Kathy,
Yes, sir.
could I comment about that?
Mhm.
Again, I think the consultant is a great thing, my experience with the fire chief process was that it was very valuable to see the exercise stuff, problems posed, problem solving kinds of things. And it was interesting because of the consulting firm that was hired for that. The gentleman who was the main driver of the process was an experienced person, but not really the senior person in the firm. And I think things sort of bogged down as a result. And partway through there, the senior person came in and sort of pulled it out of the ditch a little bit as far as providing a little more professional leadership, guidance, et cetera. So I would rather have one very experienced, the right person, and I'm not quite sure how you find that person necessarily, but somebody who has deep experience, has the respect of the profession, and has done this a fair amount, and maybe a little less of that person asking the right questions as opposed to a broader sweep across the process, and maybe not using the resources as efficiently as might be appropriate. But I think some level of problem solving, situational, what do you do about this? Very revealing in the fire chief thing. The example was, firehouse is on fire, here are the circumstances. And there were some key things that you need to look for. Some of the candidates didn't do very well on that. Our current chief did a great job on that, actually, which is good. And so, and there was a very helpful problem employ exercise where one of the consultants did a wonderful job of being a total jerk and giving all sorts of bad feedback to the candidates. And again, there was a marked difference in terms of how people handled that. And again, our chief came out by far on top of that one. So some things like that, I don't think you need to spend 2 days doing those things, but those kind of things I think can be pretty revealing in terms of performance under pressure. And I don't think you need much of that to get a glimpse of somebody's capabilities to deal with those kind of stresses. So that would be my recommendation, is find a way to do that with a consultant and figure out, if best we can, how to get a really good consultant to come in and work with us on that.
Can I piggyback on that, Kathy?
Of course.
So I also, Sam, was at the assessment center, and I completely agree with your description. It was eye-opening. It was an awful lot. And if we could find someone that could do a smaller version of that,
Right.
I completely agree with you. I think that's really important to create these scenarios. And it's funny, the two you mentioned are the two that I specifically remember out of the 4 different
Yep.
sessions they did that really stood out. So
Yep.
yeah, I think it's very important.
Well, Vanessa, today when we were talking, basically called it an informal assessment center is what we're kind of shooting for here, not
Yep.
actually going to the place and paying, $15,000-$20,000. All right, Chelsea?
Yeah, I think, having the 2 options, I think, having a professional do it will just give us more structure to it and process to follow. So I'm good with that.
Okay. Andrew?
I don't really have anything further to add. I mean, basically what we're talking about is on item number 2, whether to do something more on the $4,000 end of it or the $6,000 end of it. And I really don't have a strong opinion. I would defer to I know Sam and Lisa have gone through this exercise before, so what they say has a lot of weight with me, but so sorry to be kind of indecisive. I just don't have a strong view on it.
Yeah,
Andrew, to your point, I'd rather spend a little more to get somebody who is really good to do that. I think that was great. And
Okay.
And the last one, the disc thing, I think is pretty useless. That's my personal opinion on that stuff. But
I'm not as familiar with it, but
Can I ask a process question, Kathy? So how are we looking to fund this?
I think it's a reserve fund transfer, Lisa.
Okay.
It's totally, I think it fits the criteria pretty perfectly. I'm going to see Andrew Pfaff tomorrow. I'll run it by him and see if he agrees with that, but I really do think it fits the definition. So I'd say that's the first place to go because there's no budget for it. We'd have to.
Kathy, this is an FY23.
3, yeah.
So then we go back, I mean, assume that there's funding for, there are a couple empty there are some positions in there that are in the budget that aren't being
Yes, if
drawn.
you want
on.
to take it out a
Right,
different line item and do the entry department, I mean, yeah, that's the other way to do it, but it still sounds to me like it's a reserve fund transfer.
I thought the same thing, Kathy. That's why I asked.
I just, I would prefer to have it within the department budget also, because we're going to start talking about the reserve fund in July of 2023. I think you should wait till the end.
Are we setting a bad example to be the first ones to dip into the reserve fund?
We're not even done with this fiscal year.
I move over to select board and immediately hit them with reserve fund transfer.
Exhilarating, huh?
Hello, guys.
I don't have strong feelings.
Practice what you preach. Okay, so unless anybody has a big problem, I mean, either way should work. So I think we shouldn't spend a whole lot of time talking about how to fund it. We can fund it with your policy, with the select board's policy as far as intra-department approval for line items, right? Okay, so I just want to read this to the public because we said 2 really fast. Everybody said 2. So 2 says hire a consultant from the public safety management field to conduct a first round interview with the finalists. So I just want to make sure the public knows what number 2 actually says. Okay, we've got that settled. Now let's jump to Vanessa and Mark's recommendation on page 2. So what do we need to do to get this process to move forward? So Vanessa is recommending that one person from the select board be appointed to work with Mark and she on this to go the next step, which is to find this person.
Kathy, can I comment on that?
Yes.
So I have a concern on that in looking at, I know we're not having a search committee, but there wasn't a member of the board that sat on the fire chief search committee. And
Was not.
yeah, so I worry, again, not that I think anyone on this board would do anything wrong, but I think the final decision and the interviews come before this board. So I just worry about, not bias isn't the wrong word, but being involved in the process prior to this board making a decision. So I would just caution where that hasn't been the precedent. And again, precedent may not be the right word, but through Chief Achilles' process, and I understand that was external, but a board member did not participate.
Okay, so your vote, Lisa, is to allow Mark and Vanessa to find the consultant? That's what we're really talking about is how, what's the next step to find this consultant? Do we want a select board person to work with them and basically sign off on it? Or do we want to do something else? So that's what we're trying to decide right now.
Or is there another community member who might be a good person to participate in that? Maybe somebody with law enforcement experience. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we could think of a couple people that would fit that bill.
Mhm.
I just think to keep the board kind of separate until the final discussions just makes a lot of sense to me.
But I guess I am interested, and I think others might be as well, of observing whatever interview process goes on there with finalists in the work, because I think that was very helpful for me, at least.
I think that's fine. I think what we're specifically talking about is a process to find the consultant, how involved do we want to be? Do we want to delegate completely to Vanessa and Mark? They've done this before. Vanessa's already started doing this. Or do we want to do what we just talked about, is find someone else in the community that's got experience, relevant experience, to work with them and basically just, agree that they've got the right person.
Somebody who knows the law enforcement world out there and knows that these people are, reputable, these people not so reputable, et cetera, to provide input to that process.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Chelsea?
I agree. I think the board should be not involved on this one. So if we want to assign a community member, I'm good with that.
Okay, so everybody agrees that we're not going to be we're going to let Vanessa and Mark do this along with a community member that's got relevant experience. That's where we are right now.
Mhm.
And do we want to try to select one tonight that we could call and see if that person would do it?
I'm concerned if we don't move quickly, then, we lose time here.
Yep.
So it's a little harsh to jump in and say, would you be interested at this point, kind of thing? I don't know. Be better maybe to have an opportunity to probe a little bit and see if various people are interested or have suggestions, there are people that might have an interesting observation or two to throw in as opposed to volunteering to take it on. I don't know.
Do we want to delegate that job to one of the 5 of us to find
To provide input to it.
the person to work with Vanessa and Mark on finding the consultant?
In an informal kind of way. We don't need to appoint anybody necessarily, but
Yeah.
find somebody. And then maybe, I don't know, I hate to throw something into next week's meeting, but make a report, say this is it, kind of thing.
That would be quick.
Yeah.
Anybody disagree? Okay, no one
So I
disagrees.
just had a process question, do you want us to be advertising that we're looking for this sort of help through this process, through our normal sort of volunteer recruitment channels, or do you want to designate someone to come back with a name?
I don't think we've got to
I think-
advertise
I
this.
think the latter, yeah.
We're just,
Okay.
all we're doing is trying to find someone that's got relevant experience to basically work with the 2 of you to make sure we've got what Sam described as a really strong candidate for this.
Mhm.
And there are definitely people in Southborough that've got relevant experience that I think,
Sure.
I mean-
And in
Sorry, go ahead,
parallel,
Sam.
though, I think Vanessa and Mark start advertising for the consultant.
Yeah.
To get that process started.
Absolutely.
ASAP here.
Honestly, I would be comfortable with Mark and Vanessa. So, I mean, they know who served on what committees. I mean, I guess I don't have a strong opinion, but I think if we want to move this forward,
Yeah.
Okay, so
Are we
let-
holding
let
up the
Mark find-
process? By trying to
Yeah.
find,
Yeah.
a neutral person to do it?
I think we just let Mark and Vanessa make that decision.
I would vote to
encourage-
let Vanessa and Mark do this, but it sounds like that's not what you guys want. Mark's not coming back until the 5th. This is, so we got another week to wait for him to get back.
Mhm.
I'd much rather Vanessa get going with this tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree.
And when Mark comes back, they compare notes, and then be ready to hopefully to lock in someone next week.
I agree.
But again, I value sort of external input to this process because I'm confident that Mark and Vanessa have a lot of skills for this. On the other hand, I think you need some sort of an experienced professional as a checkpoint here. And I wouldn't mind, for example, Mark and Vanessa going out and doing a little questioning, finding somebody. And some of us may have suggestions for candidates for that we could pass along, but making a few phone calls and saying, are you interested in helping us with this? And finding somebody who says, yeah, I've participated in this process with searches in other towns, and I know the landscape out there, the consultants, I'd be glad to chime in and offer suggestions, kind of thing, that ultimately Mark and Vanessa will make the call on it.
My
If
only
we're adding a
concern,
step-
I'm sorry, Chelsea. No, I just want to say, I think it's skirting open meeting law. And I think we need to be very careful. And that's why I think we as a board need to just, let Mark and Vanessa do this process. I think I have a concern with a member. Unless his board wants to take a vote and delegate specifically to somebody, I
I'm not
hesitate.
I'm not
That's all.
suggesting any of us do it, Lisa.
Okay,
I'm suggesting that Mark and Vanessa first figure out if they know people in town that they could ask about it and say, are you interested? Do you have opinions on it? That each of us individually might suggest a person or so if we believe we have a good candidate. And then Mark and Vanessa take all of that input and proceed with not only looking for the consultant, but looking for some external benchmarks who can opine on, yeah, that's a great consultant, or those people had trouble in this town, et cetera, which is more, professional technical expertise there. So that's what I'm looking for, is some checkpoints.
I'm positive that Mark and Vanessa know some people with that background because of other committees that have been put together. I'm positive they do. I mean, I can think of 2 that I bet Chelsea can think of.
I think, can I just say, just to Sam, I wasn't, I misunderstood what you were trying to say. So I don't want to come across as I was critiquing you or criticizing that
No,
there was
no
an open
problem.
meeting. I completely misunderstood what you were saying. So, okay, sorry, Kathy, go ahead.
So
Apologize.
have we come around to agreeing that Vanessa and Mark will find that person to basically help them vet the consultant? They know, I mean, they know who's on committees, they know people's backgrounds. They will know someone who's got relevant background that they can call and say, can you help us out?
Yes.
I think that they can run their process, and if there's somebody or two people or three people that they know are familiar with it, then they can use their discretion to reach out.
How about that, Vanessa?
That's fine. Thank you.
Perfectly clear?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So just to be safe, let's make let's go ahead and vote on that. So we've got in the record, that's what we decided to do as far as the process goes.
So I move, oh, do you want me to do it?
Oh, you go ahead.
Okay, so I move that the town administrator and the assistant town administrator search for a consultant from the public safety management field to conduct a first round interview with the applicants for the police chief, and use their discretion to vet those consultants.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Chelsea,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
And Cook is aye. So 5-0 as far as that instruction. Okay, we're done. For tonight, and it's still daylight.
Public comment.
Yep, public, except for public comment. I haven't forgotten it, but it's daylight.
So just for the public's edification, Kathy, can we just review the process for police chief, just so that they're aware, like this is step one and then what will follow?
Yes, go ahead, Chelsea.
Okay, so we just moved that we would hire a consultant to essentially vet the two, to vet the candidates who applied internally, and to put the candidates forward that they want us to interview. Then those candidates will come forward for an interview and subsequently a background check and professional development assessment through that process. And then the board would make a decision on who they select as their candidate, and then a negotiation would begin. Hopefully I said that right, Vanessa.
Yep.
Good description. Okay. All right. So I think that's it, other than public comments. So any public comment? See none. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
So second.
World record.
Really? Roll call vote. Chelsea,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
and Cook is aye. 5-0. See you guys soon.
Good
Thank
night.
you very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Vanessa
Sure.
and Katie.